We'll let some people get up in the room. I'm with my main man, Chad, over here. And we are on our way to something that is going to be pretty awesome. We're going to talk about it. We're currently driving across the alley, Alligator Alley, to Boca Raton, where we will be spending the next couple of days at Stylecraft headquarters. And on the way over here, we thought we'd just hop on here and, do a little live. So far, traffic has been light. It looks like it's going to rain, but it hasn't. And weather is beautiful, 72 degrees, and not overcast. Super sunny, a little overcast, right?
Yeah.
And the area that we're driving through, actually, Chad used to be a forester here, right?
Forest ranger, yep, I used to.
Forest ranger.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stories that people have said about this area. All kinds of urban legends and shit. So I thought it'd be kind of funny or maybe fun to just kind of share some of them with you here. I guess if you guys are there are some naughty facts around this stuff. I remember when Lauren did that video, she did that podcast about the cryptozoologists and stuff. Did you ever see that?
No, I don't know Lauren.
It was wild. It was wild. But okay, so the urban legend here, one of the big urban legends here is the Squally kids. And according to the Squally kid, the people who say that they're real, we'll get into that here in a minute when a couple more people get up in the room. And then you got a couple stories from working at the division of forestry out here.
Yeah.
You guys seen a lot of weird stuff go on out here.
Well, they used to always talk about the cube. They always called it the camp. And so
because they're doing that side now.
Yeah.
My way over here last time, almost had very, very credible people. And he said I bought three razors off the. I assume you're talking about when you're talking about razors, you're talking about Fort Worth Barber Supply, or maybe you're talking about Stylecraft. But either way, appreciate you. So okay, we're talking about this though for a second. Give this a second to sink in. So out here, it's mostly swampland. The roads are very rough. And to get to a place where you could buy groceries would be like an hour and a half drive, right? And a lot of weird shit was going on back then when he was working there, and he had some very credible stories from some people that had worked there for longer than he did. So I'm gonna have him tell you one of these crazy stories. And go ahead, Chad. So I set the stage. We're in the swamps. Hold up, you guys got to see what it looks like out here. Like out here. If you take 1 foot off this road, that foot's going to be wet in no time flat. You're not going to get very far. All right? So go ahead, Chad. Tell them about this one.
So basically, back in the day, we're talking like, here we go. So back in the, let's say the late 90s, I was working for the Division of Forestry as a forest ranger. And there's this area that they call the South Blocks, which now is called the Picayune Strand State Forest. And, we'd be doing that, going down there, patrolling the area, and basically, looking for fires and that kind of stuff like that, just patrolling these areas. It's a state park, or now it's a state park, but back then it wasn't really a state park. But that being said, it was an area that would, a lot of times they would have forest fires down there. And so what would go on is, like, sometimes there'd be a fire down there, and they would keep on talking about this Cuban, this could have been the Cuban camp that did this. And what it was is, so what they would call these Cuban camps is, it was supposedly government funded ammunition and weapons for these Cubans to supposedly one day go and take over Cuba and kill Castro, believe it or not.
Like during the Cold War almost.
Well, no,
after the Cold War, but like almost some Cold War kind of
No,
stuff.
no, we're talking the 90s, bro. They're still doing this shit where these guys were out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like where they were training to suppose, like that's what they were saying. They supposed these guys are going to go out and that's what they were doing was like, you know, to go and go to Cuba. Now, whether this is true or not, that's what these guys were constantly talking about. They'd say, oh, it's a Cuban camp again. And you'd go out there and there'd be shells everywhere.
Wow.
And, yeah, you know, it's just like a weird thing. Like, I could have swore these guys were talking about going down and take, like, you know, they're like, yeah, they're supposed to go down there and kill Castro.
Wow.
Some crazy stuff like that. But yeah, man, they were definitely, I can tell, I've never seen these people with my own eyes, but I did see where they would
Like
be different areas,
of
evidence of camps where they would be out there, and supposedly that's what they're doing. They were training. They basically it was funded by the U.S. government, and they were out there training with weapons that was provided by the U.S. government.
That's crazy.
It is kind of crazy.
Right, so what about, like, didn't you tell a story about somebody seeing something crazy, driving a bulldozer or something like that?
There's so many things going on down there. I mean, well, another interesting story off the top of my head I can think about is I remember one time our forest area supervisor, he was telling the story they had a fire late one night, and it was down in South Blocks area, and they had found, like, by this fire, they were told by some people, like, you gotta be careful down there. You can't dig up the ground because, like, down here you fight fire with dozers. You know, basically you're digging up ground to create fire lines, and so someone was telling, like, you got to be very careful because they had people that were basically devil worshippers that were dug in the ground. They were like in the ground, and they had like little pipes to breathe through, and they were doing some type of crazy
Really?
like ritual where they were buried in the ground.
They seen people doing this.
That they were told that be careful because there was people doing it there. By other, like, they're like, hey, listen, man, you guys, you know, I know there's you're fighting a fire, but there are people that were, like, you know,
doing some weirdness
where they were buried in the ground for a certain amount of time, and you know, just very odd stuff. Like the South Blocks is known for that kind of, like, always something strange going on down there because, like, it was, you know, just an area where it was vast. There was a lot of people out there, and you kind of get out there and
it's a weird place.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one time I was fishing out there, and I just, like, all right, I remember we went to a place that was actually really hard to get to. You need 4-wheel drive, sugar sand. We crossed water, but we had a canoe in the back of the truck. It was actually this truck, and I went way back there, and we put the canoe into this water, and we take off. Dude, I remember me and Cody were fishing, man, and I just had the weirdest feeling come over me, like I felt like somebody was watching us, and we could hear this, like, almost like a violin, like, kind of sound, and it really freaked us out, man. I remember I looked at Cody. I mean, both of us were, like, just totally kind of freaked out, which is not normal. I mean, we'd gone back here many, many times, but I remember just feeling like, Cody, what the fuck is that noise? Like, he's like, I don't know, dude. I've been hearing it too. And every time the wind picked up, it would get worse. And I never really figured out what it was, but I remember putting the canoe back in there, and I was like, man, let's get the hell out of here, dude. So we took off. So, all right, listen, you guys got a bunch of people. Cody, you remember that? The banjo, son. He's in the room. Cody was with me. You remember that, son? We was in the banjos. But yeah, we were hearing something, man, and I don't know what it was, but I know me and him were both happy to get up out of there. And you could be in the canoe, and you're going under all these mangroves, man. There's snakes up in these mangroves. You could spook one. I've seen them fall down. I never had one fall in my boat, but I've spooked a snake out of a tree, and I've seen them fall right down into the water, and you know, stuff like that. But listen, if there's an urban legend in your area and you know a little bit about it, drop a comment. I wanna hear about it, because I'm gonna tell you guys about another one that actually, I don't know what kind of truth is mixed with this, but it's an interesting story nonetheless. So this also is in the South Blocks and in the swamps and the Everglades, but one of the ones here is called the Squally Kids. Now, as far as I understand the story, which I'm no expert on the Squally kids, I've asked tons of people that lived here about this, and just pulling a little bit from each one of them, what I've gathered is out in those south blocks there used to be a big house. You ever heard of the Squally Mansion, Chad?
I've never heard of the Squally Mansion.
So supposedly it used to be a big house way out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the swamps. And from what I understand, these people did not get supplies from anywhere. They just lived out there. They stayed out there, and supposedly they were inbreeding, and it was real bad. And through the inbreeding, they had created, I guess, their children were so messed up. They never grew up very big. They were really small, like 5 feet or less. I've heard people say 3 feet, and a bunch of people around here have swore that they've seen them, heard them, and seen evidence of them. And I remember a couple of people telling stories about these things, but they call them the Squally kids. Supposedly they're out here, they're running through the swamps at night, and they do what they do. But that was one of the ones that I'm like, are you serious? Squally kids, like how crazy is that to think that could have went on? And it's not really that far-fetched to think that there could be a house that was out here that people were inbreeding in. Like that's not so far-fetched. My name is Eddie. This is the YouTube Barber Academy. Normally we talk about barbering and barber activity, but we're about to dive into the most immersive barber programming over the next 2 days. And down here they call him the skunk ape, Bigfoot, whatever, and I'm not a believer in really any of this stuff personally. Like, I don't really believe in ghosts. I don't believe in Bigfoot. There's a lot of stuff that you'd have to really make a compelling argument to make me believe that. But I just think this area is really interesting, and we're about to actually go through the Miccosukee Indian Reservation here, and they're this area, the Seminole tribe, was known as like one of the most, I should say, the only undefeated tribe. Like when they retreated into these swamps, they just thought nobody could survive out here. They just thought that, all right, if they want to live out there with the alligators, snakes, and swamps and mosquitoes, if they can live out here, then, they just gave up. There was no fighting. There's no horses. You're not going to be running horses through this. You're going to wind up like Hernando de Soto did, and he wound up dead trying to fight with the Indians. By the time he got to Mississippi, he had probably died before that, but he was one of the people that told stories, because they had cavalry units, they had far advanced weaponry to the Indians, but fighting in these swamp environments is a whole different story. So the fact that they were able to survive out here, it's nothing short of remarkable. I've actually went to the Miccosukee Museum over here, and I've seen some of the stuff. Like, they kind of showed how they would hunt alligators. They showed how they would put, whoa, Lord. Jeez. My man almost ran straight into, look at this guy. Hold up, we're going to put this on. If somebody is responsible for Mr. Ply Care here, this guy is just all over the road, dude. What we doing here? What we doing?
Oh, no, bro.
Look at this man. He's wagging. Bro, get off the phone, son. So, jeez, if there's an urban legend around you guys, would love to hear it. Would love to hear it. It's funny, man. I could have if I have like a bunch of people in a live and we see a truck, it's like, how's my driving? He's like, yo, 72 people call. I'm not in a semi-truck full. I'm in a full-size Tacoma.
That's it.
Full size. Nah, but yeah, so that's kind of the landscape, a little bit of the
well, back in the day, the South Blocks area was a very the popular movies now, and people talk a lot about, with Narcos. I mean, the South Blocks area is an area where they used to run drugs. I mean, that's a known fact.
Yeah,
they would fly those planes down, because those big roads like Miller, I forget the name of the roads now. It's been so long, but they did fly those little planes right in there.
Yeah.
And they would drop drugs off. I mean, that's a known fact.
And I remember the square grouper. You know, people would call it square grouper.
Right.
Like when they would drop them in the water, they were big old square blocks. And so I remember one time too, I was in the Picayune and I was way out there. I just got this truck, matter of fact, still had the dealer tags on it, and I was coming back and I got pulled over by FWC. And he asked me, like, and it didn't even really occur to me, but he goes, "Did you see that plane flying back there?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "There was a plane flying real low back there." And I was like, I didn't see any plane. I mean, I was just out here kind of testing out the new truck. He checked my truck and he left, and it made me realize he was looking for something that may be like a package only later.
Right.
But he said, "Eddie, your customer has great customer service. They replaced my defective instinct real quick. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that." So where me and Chad are headed, we're headed to Boca Raton Stylecraft headquarters, where we will be spending the next 2 days. I have the pleasure of, like, it's been a year's worth of work, guys. It's been a year's worth of work. Myself, Giancarlo, Marlene, and man, these dudes must be killing the fish over here. They were fishing right there. So myself, Marlene, Giancarlo, Rigo, the whole Stylecraft team behind this has been working for about a year to put this curriculum together, and we're about to unveil it to the top talent, everybody on Stylecraft. We got so many people that are coming here. Danny Styles, we got Prince the Fit Barber, Joel is your barber, Mo Cuts, Drastic's gonna be here, that's right. L'Oreal from Buffalo, she's gonna be here. We got, I mean, I can't even tell. I mean, these are just off the top of my head, but there's so many more, and I'm really excited. Here we go, y'all. That's the Miccosukee Indian Reservation. So it's official. You don't want to be speeding out here, because
this is when you find the python hunters out here too, boy.
Yeah, the pythons are definitely out here, and these Indians out here, boy, they don't play. They don't play. He said, "I'm not from 63rd. Yeah, Buffalo is where I grew up. I grew up in Niagara Falls. So the worst part about this whole training thing, though, guys, is the training takes place from about 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. And unfortunately, the Bills game is tomorrow at 1 p.m. now. When I first checked, I could have swore it was 4 o'clock, but that is what it is, you know." He said, "I like your patience and tolerance when you are teaching how to cut." He said, "I'm from Pakistan, 17 years old, man. That's awesome, buddy. I'm glad you're watching. Appreciate you. Bro is a caveman. You have no idea. You got no idea." I could have made it as a caveman, you guys. I would have been fine. I'd have been fine. Yo, a track hawk. My man's in the track hawk. He just took off. That shit sounds nice, didn't it?
Yeah.
You guys heard that? But if I had a truck like that, I'd be going too fast. Me and Chad would have already been there. We're just easing on down like Ric Flair.
That's it, baby.
He's like, "You talking to the Rolex wearing, jet plane flying, limousine riding, wheeling dealing, kid stealing, woo!" I gotta listen to a guy hollering my name when last year. Who knows it? Who knows it? We're easing on down. Easing on down. He said, "But I speak a little Spanish. My name is Thomas. I'm a composer, and I spoke Russian." All right, cool. Here.
Spoke Russian.
Read. All right. So let's go through some barber pet peeves. Because you had one today. So.
Oh man.
Tell the story, because this is, to me, this is one of the most annoying things that customers do.
Yeah. Okay. So today I'm in the shop and I'm waiting for an appointment to come in, and this gentleman, he had parked. I shouldn't say he parked. It looked like he had a driver, and he strolls in the shop, just parks right in front of the shop there, and he strolls in, and one of our barbers, Tall Kenny, he's asked the gentleman, he's like, oh, do you have an appointment? And he's like, I would like to make an appointment. He's okay, well, how would you like to make it? He's like,
talk
okay,
like
so he's blowing Kenny off. I mean, he's being very rude to Kenny. And he's acting like he's just too good to be doing. You know, we moved over here, just, you know, over around the corner, and, you know, my eyebrows there, you know, they're graying, and sometimes you guys do color, you guys, or you're just being so.
He was just being pompous.
Yeah, you know, and you know, but at the end of the day, we got him an appointment set, and if he wants to shellac his eyebrows, then we'll shellac the eyebrows. You know what I'm saying?
So be it. But that's the funny thing, bro. There's so many things, like, there's things that bother me that customers do, but there's also things that bother me too that, like, barbers be doing. Like, you guys ever work with a barber who's like, you know, he's got this appointment coming in, this phantom appointment. So everybody else is busy and a bunch of walk-ins come in, and all of us start taking walk-ins, and that one barber, he's like, nah, I got somebody coming, and that person never comes. That's just annoying. Like, don't do this to your fellow coworkers, man. To some extent, when you do this job, you're working on your own, but another extent, you have a team.
That's what it is, man.
It's a team, and you guys need to be working together.
At the end of the day, man, people like to use the term, like, you know, have skin in the game. You do have skin in the game when you work in a barber shop, because you're building your business in that barbershop with other people. And so it's all the time that you've spent in that barbershop where you do have skin in the game. And it's for you to respect and to treat your other barbers to, like, basically, really, at the end of the day, is you want them to treat your clients like they're their clients.
Yep.
You know?
100%. 100%. Like, and that's the thing, is like, you don't really get a chance to practice that good customer service until you deal with customers who are trying. Like, if everything's easy, it's not customer service. You're just communicating. Like, when you're dealing with people who are difficult, that's when you get a chance to see how good your customer service is. Because a lot of people, with this guy walking in, would have just said, all right, buddy, you gonna get a haircut or not? If not, get the fuck out of here, you know? And there have been plenty of people. I remember the guy who you were cutting his hair, and he came in, he goes, listen to this. He goes, how much is a haircut? When Chad was cutting his hair.
Oh no, he asked how much I was right in the middle of cutting his hair. He's like,
in the middle of a haircut.
He's like, how much is the taper fake gonna be? And I said, it's $35. And he says, that's fucked up. And I'm like, Eddie, how much is it? And so I'm like, Eddie, so how much does a taper fade cost? And he's like, it's $35. And they basically, Eddie told him, like, if that's not, you know, if that's too much.
Tell him exactly what I said.
Yeah, he said, if you don't like it, then you just get the fuck out.
That was not good customer service that day.
But at the end of the day, the guy kind of deserves it. The way it was, like
he was
his whole
rude.
demeanor changed. Like, I was cutting his hair. This is all of a sudden, it was like, oh, yo. So yeah. By the way, anyways, how much is that? How much is the haircut, the taper? So it's gonna be $35. Well, that's fucked up. Like, the whole demeanor changed. He acted like there was gonna be like this big issue. He was acting very confrontational about it. It's like, bro, you're the one that sat down and asked for the haircut. You know what I'm saying? So
that's so funny, man.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I'm just providing this service.
He said, I got fired because the other barber talked shit about me because his customer wanted to cut their hair with me, and he started doing all sorts of BS just to make me look bad. Well, these are the things that happen when you don't function as a team, guys. I mean, I can't really speak on your situation, but I do know this: barbers ain't much better than women sometimes. They can be chatty. They can throw each other under the rug, you know, and all kind of stuff can go on. But for the most part, when you just treat people with respect, even if you do have a client, like, if that guy really did that, boy, shit, what you want to do? Not today. Just for it discovered. But listen, if you got a client and they want to go to somebody else in the shop, you cannot take it personal.
No.
You got to let it go.
Yeah.
Because if you thought you were going to build your entire business off of one customer, you're crazy. You'll never make it.
Yeah, you gotta let your ego your ego behind the door when you walk in, man.
It's normal to have some turnover. Like, it really is, dude. Like, Chad likes to play guitar. He's got guitars and stuff. Let's say I start getting into a conversation about guitars with some guy, and I don't know what I'm talking about, you know, and he starts shooting the shit with Chad. He might have better chemistry with Chad. So now he gets a haircut, but you gotta realize it's more than a haircut. It's an experience. And in his life, talking about guitars is probably something his wife don't want to hear no more. And, you know, he wants to talk about it with like-minded people. So that's okay, man. You know, it just, it is what it is.
Yeah, you want to go with someone that you vibe with. It's like, you know, you can't take it like too personally. Even though at the end of the day you don't want to lose money, at the end of the day you got to look at like a stay in the shop. You know, it might not be, you know, sometimes your feelings can get hurt. You're like, man, I'm not cutting the hair right. And sometimes it really isn't about cutting the hair. Sometimes it is about the vibe. And they enjoy that, you know, that 30, 35 minutes, whatever it is, they're sitting down and you're enjoying. It's like you're hanging out. And, you know what I'm saying? There's, like I said, there's more to it than just the hair. The hair, don't get me wrong, doing great service with the hair is also something that, like, it's very important. But, you know, being able to, basically, you're vibing with somebody.
Yeah. Oh, we got a good question here. He says, what was the hardest part of cutting hair? What was the hardest part to learn when you were learning? And I would just speak for me. I think the hardest part to learn was that you will make it happen, and to learn how to be patient and wait for it to happen. So, like, for instance, you get out of barber school, you go work, you are going to be sitting while other people are busy, and you're going to look around and you're going to see everybody else busy and you're not. You're going to start to have all these thoughts mentally, like, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe people don't want to come to me, maybe my skills aren't there. Like, it's just easy to get down on yourself, you know. But if you really do the right things, if you stay in the shop the hours you're supposed to stay in, you treat people right, you build your clientele little by little, you don't leave early, and you advertise yourself, it really will happen. But you have to learn that patience. And to me, it wasn't really so much, I was never really afraid to make a mistake to cut somebody's hair, which of course I made plenty, but I wasn't afraid to do that even after I made mistakes. That wasn't really my battle. Some people, and I've taught a lot of people like this, they're terrified to make a mistake, and it fills them with anxiety behind the chair, and they can't function normally when they get in that situation. And, you know, that, to me, that wasn't my battle. My battle was more like, man, is this shit gonna work? Am I gonna be able to make money? Is this ever gonna happen for me? You know, you jump from shop to shop, all that stuff kind of hurts. It hurts you because you're not allowing people to find you, and you're not allowing yourself to grow. What about for you, Chad?
You know, I'm kind of like in the same boat as you, where I didn't really worry about like messing up necessarily. It was just more of like, I was just always like, you know, in the very beginning, I was just like, I was excited to cut someone's hair, because it's almost like you know, it's like a canvas. You're you know what I'm saying, like it's almost like learning to play an instrument. It's almost like you're immersed into the part of like creating something. I guess it's just more, what was it I really struggle with was just maintaining the self-confidence, I guess, is like, you know,
I can say something for sure about Chad. Like, Chad was never afraid to just ask, and he still isn't, even once in a great while. Like, a client comes in with a really fucking weird growth pattern or some dumb shit, Chad's not afraid to reach, like just reach across the aisle and be like, hey bro, can you come take a look at this? Like, how would you do this? Like, he's not afraid to do that. And you know what's funny is, like, a lot of you guys are afraid to ask for help from one of your coworkers, but asking for help from your coworker is going to do a couple things for you. One, it might gain you a mentor. Two, you might actually learn something. And three, you're probably afraid that your customer is going to get turned off because you're seeing this as, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm giving the vibe that I don't know what I'm doing. But you know what was funny? Every time Chad did that, his client never was bothered. His client never once got up out of the chair and said, no, I don't want to get my hair cut with you. The other guy came over here and, you know, said you should do this. Like, it was just kind of funny. He said, highlight saved.
Yeah, that's the thing. I learned a long time ago too, when I was getting tattooed one day. The guy told me, he was like, he was an OG tattoo artist up in Canada, and I'll never forget this. And it's really true. Like he said, we're artists in here, and we all feed off of each other. And basically, at the end of the day, it's the same thing in the barbering world. Like, you're artists, and we all have a different way that we see things, and sometimes having a different set of eyes opens up doors for you to be like, oh, I never thought about it. I didn't see it that way. And it just it widens your vocabulary in what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's widening your tools, your skill set. That's for me. It's like, I'm never like, I don't have an ego, man. I could learn from someone that's just learning, because they're doing something different. You're like, what did you just do? I've never seen that before. And they're just like,
That's the funny thing too, is like, last year I flew around the country. I worked with some of the best educators and artists that you guys have seen, a lot of these people. And I had the pleasure of filming with like Jesse Elite and E.T. the Barber's going to be here too, guys. And we're going to do a live probably tomorrow, maybe the next day. We'll do a live with everybody on the Gamma team too. But I learned a couple of things. Like, you might think that somebody like me, I've been teaching and doing this YouTube stuff and making content around it, and I was a teacher for like 11 years at a barber school. You might think that I feel like I know everything, and I don't. Like, there's been times where I'll see somebody do something, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty smart, like spraying aftershave on the razor before you line up when you got enhancements or something like that. Like, that's a cool little trick. Victorino last year, he doesn't even use like a color card when he puts in some enhancements. He'll literally just spray it everywhere, and then he'll go back with a Q-tip and clean up the excess. So I thought that was a pretty cool technique. I remember E.T., he goes, yo, if I get stuck on a spot, which like I'm filming him and he is clearly stuck, he's like getting fixated on this spot for a while and he's not moving, and then it just kind of hits him and he just moves away from that spot. And he said something, and it kind of resonated with me. I've thought about it ever since. It's like, I'm fighting with the spot. I'm fighting it. It's just not coming out the way I want it. He'd just leave it alone, go work on the other side of the head. And the funny thing was, when he came back to that spot, he fixed it in like 2 seconds. Sometimes I think we get like so, like, kind of almost like fade blind. Like, we're in there.
Yeah, you got your...
And we're fucking this way and that way, and try the one, and try the two, and try the this, and try the that, and nothing is working. You go back and you're like, why didn't I just open my number one?
Yeah,
like, it's like you just had a brain fart, and it's okay. But to me, it's like, recognize that stuff a little sooner, and just move. I literally did it on live the other day. I was working on the one side of the client's head that was just fighting me, and the other side came out, quick, and I'm fighting with this one spot, and I finally just said, you know what, screw it. I left it. And I'm live. I had like a lot of people on there, and I left it alone. And when I went back, I got it fixed in like real quick.
Yeah, it's almost like that. You let the frustration it's like it overwhelms you, and you become so obsessed that it's almost like your brain screws you, and it's like your eyes screw you, where it's almost like you're trying to find something you're missing, and it's like right in front of your face.
Right.
It's just like you're just like so overwhelmed that you're not thinking clearly, you're not seeing clearly.
Yeah.
And sometimes like you say, you go to the other side, you start working on something, you get relaxed, and all of a sudden you flip it over, and you actually can see it with the right vision. Your mind is clear.
Yeah, 100%, man. So those are definitely some things that I've learned. I remember when I was filming Jesse likes to do Jesse Elite, one of the best barbers you'll ever see. He's very fast. I mean, this guy does haircuts, like, and I'm talking about nice haircuts, and he does them quick, man, like 15, 20 minutes. He's got a gift, man. He really is good, and he really is quick. And he does a lot of skin stretching, a lot more than I ever did before I was filming him. He'll push down on the skin, he'll push it into the clipper, and he'll pull up. So like he'll kind of use that almost as a secondary lever or length adjustment.
Right, instead of lever play, you got the skin play.
he'll use a lot more of that than anybody I've ever seen, and I thought that was pretty brilliant too. So I mean, everybody, I think I think this is such a solo, like, this is such a solo job in a way. Like, you're such a lone wolf when you're doing these little nuances. You're talking shit with your coworkers and you're cutting hair and you're passing the day that way. But like internally, when you're working on something that you're struggling with, a lot of times that's kind of solo and nobody talks about that stuff. And I think a lot of us develop techniques that we wind up using that are our own. And I think that's some of the stuff I'm speaking on. Victorino decided, I don't want to use a color card. I'd rather use a Q-tip. You know, Jesse figured out that stretching the skin worked better for him. E.T. figured out that moving away from this troubled spot and returning to it, like, everybody figures out stuff. And, you know, the funny thing is there's stuff that you guys have figured out too. There's stuff that you guys have value and are able to teach and are able to tell. So he said, good Lord, you got to get to New York immediately. I hope so, bro. Yeah, it's a fake beard. I pasted on every morning. You come do chin-ups from this bad boy. But no, I mean, the beard just looks good because my boy Kenny, aka Sexy Kenny, at the barbershop, Tall Kenny. He he iced me out real quick before we left the shop. So I'm feeling fresh and ready to go. He said when there's a hard line to fade out, I stretch the skin. Yeah. You know, and a lot of people do that, and then I think like towards the end of your haircut, maybe reducing the stretching makes sense to me, because you can make it perfect when it's stretched, but then when you let it go, maybe it snaps back and it's still a little dark or something too. So, you know, I think there's a time and a place for a lot of this stuff, and you know, a lot of techniques like clipper over comb can be learned on mannequins, guys. You guys can get mannequins, and you can practice with those, and scissor techniques and stuff that I think a lot of barbers. Double tap the middle of the screen, you guys, if you want to like the video. If you guys are enjoying the live, we've been live now for like 40 minutes. So if you guys want to just drop a like, we talked about everything from Bigfoot to Squally kids to wild things that happen out here in the woods to barbering. So, you know, we're having some fun here and we're doing our thing. But he said, I learned from your teaching on the corner. Yeah, using the cornering and using mannequins to learn is what people who are honestly professionals who are at the top of their game are willing to pick up a mannequin and improve their skills, especially if you find yourself struggling with anything. I mean, that would be like Josh Allen, right? Greatest quarterback who ever played the game. And he just says, you know what, I know it all. I don't need to practice no more. Coach, I'm just going to show up when it's game time. Like, no, man, he's going to practice. He's going to simulate all of these things. Okay, I want to simulate when defenders are at me. I want to simulate getting the ball out. Like, he's going to practice and he's going to make perfect. And you can do the same thing. Another thing that, like a helpful tip, if you guys really want to improve, film yourself. Just film yourself, and you're gonna make some mistakes, but I guarantee you when you film yourself, you're going to see those mistakes occur in real time, and you're gonna have to examine that, and that's gonna make you be like, okay, you know what? Next time I'm in this situation, I'm gonna do this a little different. It's funny, man. It made it seem like we were pulling off on something here.
Right.
Oh, did I pass? I must have passed the exit. Maybe I passed an exit. Yeah, because we just went from 311 to 320. We'll tap the like button, guys. We're getting into the nitty gritty of the Miami traffic here. So, but anyways, all right. I appreciate all of you guys, and we will be going live again probably tomorrow at some point. Other than that, it's Go Bills, and we will catch you guys in the next video. This is the YouTube Barber Academy, over 900 videos to help you learn. And I say goodbye to my man Chad.
Take care, YouTube.
And we'll see you guys in another video. Peace.